Here you go, bro.
Welcome to tonight's edition of 22 MWU. My name's Tony. I'm coming to you from EBK Studios. Today I'm joined by Kurtis. What's up, Kurtis?
I don't know. What?
Okay. Thought I would try, but here's my question. Then.
Okay.
Kiefer Sutherland is set to release his debut album, Down in a Hole, this year. Okay, my punctuation maybe wasn't great there.
Yeah.
The album's called Down in a Hole.
Right.
And it's supposed to come out this year.
That was going to be my first question, if that was the name of the album or where he was releasing it.
Yeah, I should have foreseen that and reworded it. But any chance you'll actually listen to that?
I mean, it's possible, like, I'd be locked in an elevator with it playing or something. I mean, there's always a chance, right? Like,
okay. So it's a small percentage.
It's small.
Right.
It's pretty small, but anything's possible.
Like, the first, I listened to the single just out of curiosity. It's called, like, Not Enough Whiskey, I think is what it's called. Like, isn't he, like, an alcoholic?
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, is it a country album? Like, that's the only thing I could kind of picture him doing.
Yeah, it's a country album.
All right.
But he did, like, go to jail for, like, what did he go to?
I mean,
it had something to do with alcohol.
I think he's had a few DUIs, and he finally had to go to jail for a few days because of it. I don't remember totally. But, yeah, he's definitely had some boozing problems.
All right. Okay. All right, let's get into our top 22.
Top 22.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
All right, I didn't know if you're going to hijack me again this week.
What, like twice in 2.5 years?
Now, this was already your top 22 once before, but so I haven't finished it yet, but 8 episodes into People vs. O.J. Simpson, I was kind of on the fence if I was going to watch it, and after the 30 for 30, I decided I had to. So, you know, it's not near as good as that 30 for 30, but it's still pretty good. You know, as I'm watching it, the performances and the casting are kind of all over the place. So you got the guy who plays Chris Darden, who's really good, but maybe doesn't totally remind you of Chris Darden. You have the just bizarre performance of John Travolta as Rob Shapiro. That's not like not really. It's not off. It's not off. It's not bad. It's just bizarre because he looks weird. You have just terrible casting like David Schwimmer as Rob Kardashian, and good God, could they stop with the Kardashian jokes? That cold opening where they're talking about being famous is just so over the top.
Yeah, but they stopped with that by like episode 3 or 4.
I think so. And, but I'm saying, like, wow, the Sarah Paulson is really killing it as Marcia Clark, and the guy who plays Johnny Cochran, he's doing really awesome. Like, I was wondering, like, have the Emmys been announced yet? Like, they should be up for Emmys. And then the Emmys came out this week, the nominations, and they are both nominated. So is Cuba Gooding Jr. I don't know, his performance is kind of spotty. Like, sometimes he's good, but then sometimes, I don't know. Maybe it's just too close to seeing that 30 for 30, and he just doesn't really look a lot like OJ. So, I don't know. But it's a pretty good, I wouldn't call it a show. What do you call it? Limited run thing. It's 10 episodes, 45 minutes each. It's worth
It's called American Crime Story, which is essentially just going to be American Horror Story, but they're going to do something like that every season.
And I'm in for the next one. This one, it's not perfect, but it's pretty well done. It has those two performances are really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely watched it in the right order, I think. Watching that and then watching the documentary, I think, was the better way to go about it. But
yeah, the documentary is way better, but...
yeah, of course. I mean...
Yeah, this is good, though. It's worth checking out.
All right, my top 22 this week is me really scraping the bottom of the barrel here because I really just didn't watch anything this week. I heard some good rants by Adam Carolla talking about if he's got Asperger's, everyone should strive to have Asperger's. But my top 22 is a female comedy that came out last Christmas called Sister, starring Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. And I actually haven't finished it yet, but again, I'm desperate. And it's been pretty funny so far. I like Tina Fey. I'm not a big Amy Poehler fan, but I think Tina Fey's really funny. So.
You're just saying that because you don't want to be labeled a misogynist.
I guess we'll see by the end of the episode if that's the case or not. So let's get into our Watch It, Rent It, Forget It for the week. It's a movie called Kickboxer Vengeance. Reboot. Complete reboot. Jean-Claude Van Damme is back, but he's playing the sensei master kind of role this time. Dave Bautista's in it as the bad guy. Some unknown name is, or at least I don't know who he is playing the Jean-Claude character. What do you think about this trailer, Curtis? Are you familiar with the franchise at all? And watch it, rent it, or forget it.
I mean, I know that it exists. I've never seen any movies in it, so I assumed it wasn't a reboot. That just Jean-Claude was the Rocky Balboa.
That's what I thought too, but I looked it up, and the character has the same name.
Oh, all right. Well, I was gonna say forget it based on the fact that I would have to go and watch all those other kickboxing movies. I don't really sure how many there are, but I don't really. That those movies aren't really for me, which is weird because I really like boxing movies. Maybe I just have. I don't think I've ever actually watched any of them, but they don't look very good. So this trailer's not terrible, but it just looks like a movie that's probably been made 400 times before. It didn't look like it was really anything special, other than Jean-Claude Van Damme, who I haven't seen in a movie. Well, I guess Bautista as well, but it didn't look like there were a lot of people I knew in it. So let's forget it for me.
For me, it's actually a watch it. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the kickboxer movies either, but it seemed like I know like some of them don't even have Jean-Claude in them. They have the guy that lived in the van on Step by Step.
Well, there was like other like Bloodsport had Jean-Claude Van Damme. Isn't that it's some sort of fighting movie that has? So I think there's more.
I mean, it was like Fast and the Furious, XXX, Vin Diesel's doing like the same thing for multiple franchises. I think that's pretty much Jean-Claude's stick, right?
I guess. I don't know. I don't really have any interest in this.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought the trailer did a good job. I thought they made Batista look like a really good villain. Again, it probably goes too far and shows you too much, but whatever. All right. Let's get into our first movie this week. It's from 2013, directed by J.J. Abrams, starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, Simon Pegg, John Cho, Bruce Greenwood, Alice Eve, Benedict Cumberbatch, Peter Weller's entire face, and Leonard Nimoy and Anton Yelchin as well. Star Trek Into Darkness is the sequel to the 2009, not reboot, I forget what they call that when they kind of redo it but kind of don't.
Soft reboot?
Soft reboot. There you go. I just me and Kyle, superfan Kyle, reviewed the first one maybe 100 episodes ago. That was episode 22, and this is episode 122. Mm-hmm. So there you go. 100 episodes ago, me and Kyle did that. But it's been a while. I rewatched Star Trek 2009. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I rewatched it.
Yeah, I take any excuse to watch a movie that good. That movie is so good, and like. It's just great casting. Who was a big name in 2009 that was in that movie?
Like movie star or just...
Yeah.
I mean, Zachary Quinto is pretty big from Heroes.
Heroes, yeah. But, I mean, even that's kind of not big.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of those guys are bigger. Obviously, like most of those people are bigger names today, the ones that are alive.
Wow. All but one. Come on.
Well, I'm saying, like, he didn't really become a big name either. All right. Shouldn't speak ill of the dead. Sorry.
He became a big name in death. I mean, everyone talked about him for a couple of days. And he's super talented. He really is. Like, I always kind of crap on when people never talk about somebody and then when they die, they talk about them. I think if you go back to my review of Star Trek, I'm sure I mentioned how good he is as Chekhov. And I think this is one of the best cast movies in recent memory. The first one. So let's talk about this one.
Before I get too much into this one, I mean, I think it's kind of relevant to the next movie we're talking about. I didn't like the first one as much as you. I did enjoy it.
What do you rate it?
It's maybe a 4. Definitely easy 3, maybe a 4.
It's crazy.
Well, so I'm not super passionate about the old Star Trek, and this is what I was getting into, but I've seen all 10 of the other movies, the original movies. I watched most of the TV shows. And, the same vein as Ghostbusters, which maybe, we'll find out if we were right or wrong or whatever coming up. But, these movies are not Star Trek. Like, they're very different. Like, those shows, yes, as time went on, they got maybe a little more action-y and a little more special effect-y, but, you know, those movies and shows were kind of about progressive issues and using sci-fi fantasy to talk about things like race and equality and stuff like that. Like, my favorite of the movies is Star Trek 6. That's the last one with the original crew, full tact. Some of them came back for the first Next Generation movie, but you know, that movie's like a very political kind of, I don't want to say thriller, but almost thriller, and it uses Klingons as kind of an allegory for racism, maybe in the 60s or even spilling into the 90s when that movie is. And like that's what Star Trek was. And these movies are not. These movies are very action oriented.
I mean, J.J. Abrams clearly likes Star Wars more than Star Trek, and I mean, and I smile every time in both of these movies when somebody says "punch it." I mean, that's straight out of Star Wars. So,
but kind of where I was going with that is maybe I don't enjoy them as much because they're very, very different from something else that I'm not super passionate about it. But I did watch and enjoy most of the old Star Trek stuff, and these are just so different that it's kind of hard to get super into them. Again, this is going to come up later, but it's hard to not compare them to those movies and those shows, and they're completely different. This is all about, I don't want to say all about, because I mean, there's more than just mindless action, but you know, these are very action-driven, which... It's time again. As time went on, the original stuff kind of went more than that direction, but not totally. So, you know, and people who are big Trek fans, I can totally understand why they don't like these movies because they're close to the antithesis of what. It's definitely the antithesis of what Gene Roddenberry wanted to create. Maybe not the antithesis of what it came out to be, but it's definitely the antithesis of what he created. He never created Star Trek to be Captain Picard driving a dune buggy on a planet, or you know what these movies are. That said, you know, I enjoyed the first one and I like this one a little bit too. It's not terrible.
So for me, like I went to go see this opening weekend in the theater, left kind of feeling like when it came out on Blu-ray, I watched it again and I remember pausing it like 30 minutes in and never coming back to it. So this was actually only the second full time I've seen it. I've seen the first one a ton. But this movie's actually pretty good. I think that it works really well if you watch it right after the first one, and you kind of see the respect the characters gain for each other from the first movie to the second movie. And I don't know. I think these characters are just really well done. Again, Anton Yelchin, Zoe Saldana. I think Chris Pine, like, this may be the only thing he's ever good at. It seems like everything else he's in, it just turns out bad for him. And
he was great. I think he was great in Horrible Bosses too, even though that movie sucked.
That movie did suck.
But he was great in it.
Yeah, he was good in it. I just think this movie it had a lot to live up to. I didn't watch Wrath of Khan until after I saw this one, so like I got the reference, but it didn't cheese me off. I think that's why a lot of people hate this movie, right?
I mean, the Khan casting is terrible, and I mean this is not a remake of Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. If you want to call it a remake of anything, it's a remake of the original series episode from the 60s that Khan was in, that the movie then followed up with on 20 years later. So these movies obviously get into like timeline problems. You know, that came up with the whole Sulu's gay thing that I guess is going to come up next week when we review that one. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons people don't like these movies. And it's a lot of the same reasons people crapped all over the Ghostbusters movie.
No, I think the first one actually brought a lot of people on board and maybe didn't turn off tons and tons of super fans. Maybe some. But I
think that's mostly fair. Again, I think the tone of it did. I think I agree with you on the casting. Other than I'm a big Benedict Cumberbatch fan, but he was terrible casting for Khan. He shouldn't have played.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The first one's great casting. I don't know that he's a great casting for Khan either. But that first movie, to take all these people that are pretty much unknown. I mean, heroes, and Zoe Saldana was in that Britney Spears movie. Like, yeah, these people have been in stuff, but they're Royal Princess Diaries 2 or whatever. but they're all virtually unknown taking on this huge franchise. I mean, they tried it with Point Break, last Christmas, and did anyone see that movie?
Point Break's on the same level as Star Trek as far as franchises. No.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, that's fair.
So one thing I do like about this one is, so on the first one, me and my friend Jeff always had this huge disagreement about it. I hated, because it was so stupid that they promoted him to captain at the end of that movie. Because it's like, it doesn't make, it's stupid. Like, you don't just make someone captain. And my friend Jeff...
Sure you do.
No, you don't. That's not how it works in the military. And that's not how it works in reality, because you don't just you can't learn to lead a team like that in a few weeks, or a few days. It doesn't work that way. And, my friend Jeff was like, no, you could do it. And this movie points out, he wasn't ready. Now, it completely undoes it 30 minutes later, or not 10 minutes later. But the movie proved me right. The movie's like, yes, we gave you the chair too quickly. Because that's so stupid. At the end of that movie, they promote him to captain when he's a cadet. That's just ridiculously dumb. And this movie proves that it was dumb, but then kind of goes back and says, well, maybe it wasn't that dumb. So I don't like that part of it.
I mean, there's field commissions and step promotions and stuff like that in the military. Again, not quite sure how I know that, but those are things.
You don't get promoted from West Point to captain, which is an 06. That hasn't happened since the 1840s. That hasn't happened.
But neither has a battle and leadership decisions like Kirk made. I mean, he did. He was pretty fantastic.
I mean, they even point out his plan only has a 4% chance of success, so he was more lucky than good. So the movie says everything worked out, good for him, but no, really, he kind of got lucky. He only had a 4% chance of success doing what he wanted to do. So.
Iron Man with the laser beam at the end. That's lucky. This is. I mean, that's out of control. I don't like Greg, but I'm gonna agree with him here. He's right.
All right. Well, this movie agrees with me, at least for about 3 or 4 minutes. It does
until it doesn't, and you'll just take whatever you can get at this point. So there you go. I don't know. Simon Pegg. I like his role in this movie. I know a lot of people were mad at the Alice Eve scene, and it does seem...
It seems really
weird. It seems weird. It seemed less weird this time. I remember the first time going that's real weird. But, I mean, they kind of do the same thing with Zoe Saldana in the first one.
I guess. She was in her room, and there was at least some justification. I'm more annoyed, I think I've mentioned this before, that she has an English accent. That character doesn't have an English accent.
Tell me why again? I forget.
You've seen Wrath of Khan. Carol Marcus is in that movie. She doesn't have an English accent, so how does she have one now? Alice Eve does an American accent that's not terrible. Why did they have her do a British accent for a character that doesn't have a British accent?
Maybe to deceive you for a little bit longer that she's your boy's daughter.
Except everyone knew going into the movie that she was Carol Marcus. Again, there's no secrets in movies anymore. That was well publicized, so that doesn't. If they wanted to go that far, they wouldn't have made it clear in all their promotion that she was playing Carol Marcus. So.
And when you do get secrets in movies, they're 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not.
So I dig this movie. 3 Alpha Beavers out of 5.
Yeah, some of it's good. I like the Kirk Spock stuff. I thought the Kirk Pike stuff was not very well done. There's some Star Trek stuff here that kind of bothers me. This and the other movie render space travel completely. I guess if you're not really familiar with the whole franchise, you don't know this, but if you could just warp, or not warps, but transport from Earth to Kronos, or from a ship to another, that trans-warping thing they just made up, then why do you don't even need starships? Those planets are not even close to each other. So, but the original stuff had stupid technobabble that they did one week and forgot the next 2. So it's not too much of a problem, I
What's
guess.
the name of your old podcast, Curtis?
I don't know. Something about taking things too seriously, but...
Yeah, something about that.
If you could warp from Earth to Kronos, then why do you need a starship?
I think I've warped from Earth to Kronos before. I think that's a pretty common thing.
But, they did that Prime Directive thing at the beginning, which is another thing that goes all the way back to all the original stuff. They could never, no series or movie could ever decide if the Prime Directive was infallible or not. There would always be one episode where every captain was like, "We could never violate the Prime Directive," and then next week they violate it and said, "I have to violate it for the good of these people," or some stupid thing. So is that
a big thing in the Shatner stuff? Where like he's always having to like defend himself, or is he more godlike and untouchable in that stuff?
No, he gets demoted, he gets arrested, yeah. Especially in the movies. I don't know. I haven't seen all of the original series. I haven't watched it in a while. Especially in the movies, he's demoted here. He gets arrested by the Klingons and has to stand trial, and yeah, he's always in trouble.
Do you wish Chris Pine they would make him shave the front of his hair and wear a bad toupee?
No. Some of the other characters are more spot on. Spock and McCoy. He's definitely not doing a Shatner impersonation, but it still fits. I still think he captures kind of the essence of that character, so it still works for me.
Well, that's another thing about that movie that like the first one I felt like gave you just the right amount of fan service, and the second one I think did a little too much. But
2 out of 5.
Still pretty good. All right, up next in theaters now, directed by Paul Feig, starring Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, Chris Hemsworth, Sigourney Weaver, Andy Garcia, Cecily Strong, Zach Woods, Annie Potts, Ozzy Osbourne, Al Roker, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and a bust of Harold Ramis. Ghostbusters, the lady version. So, I'm just going to start this out by saying this movie was not good. So we're going to take a 5-second pause. Say whatever you want back to us. All right, there you go. I don't know Curtis's thoughts on this, but this movie, it felt like two styles of comedy, both of which don't work. It was that guy that teaches Bull Rat how to tell jokes, where he's like, "The suit is black, not," and then it's two broke girls, crappy sitcom. Joke. Doesn't matter if they're funny or not. Just joke. And if you've ever heard me talk about Phase 2 Marvel movies, you know I hate that. And it's so not necessary. There were some times in this movie where I actually kind of enjoyed the characters and their differences, where they, decided to stray from the original movies. But there was so little of that and so many stupid jokes that this movie was terrible. The end was terrible. I laughed one time. There were people in my audience and the critics review, I kind of think this too. Like, I almost feel like they've backed people into a corner where people feel like they're going to get called names if they don't support this. 75% or 73% right now, certified fresh. It's unbelievable. Again, the girl sitting beside me, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was one of the jokes from the trailer, that first trailer, which universally was pretty much said, like, yeah, this is terrible and unfunny. She was hitting the seat with her fist and doing the fakest laugh I've ever heard in my life. Oh. Curtis.
So, I think, kind of looking at the reviews today, it seemed like everyone who hated this hated it, who hated it before hated it, and everyone who thought it was going to be good before thought it was good. And I think that's what this movie is. It's not good enough to convince someone who went into it not being a fan of it to like it, and it's not bad enough to convince someone who made up their mind that because of feminism or whatever they liked who's involved or whatever that it sucks. But for me, I didn't enjoy it. Not only was the tone of the comedy over, but they also did that thing that I hate where they could never decide, is this a remake, reboot? It's constantly like, oh, we're kind of doing our own thing. Go, oh, no, wait, here's Ernie Hudson. We're doing Bill Murray's showing up. And then it's constantly referencing, up until the post-credit scene, it's constantly referencing the other movies. There were a couple of good things about it. I thought Kate McKinnon and Chris Hemsworth were funny. I liked them.
Did you?
Yeah.
I thought Kate McKinnon was the worst part about the movie. And I like her, and I don't like Leslie Jones. But I feel like Kate McKinnon, like, some people just can't transfer from TV to movies. And that was one of my notes, was she looked awkward. It just didn't work. It was not good.
Total opposite for me. Like, you're kind of right. This movie couldn't decide if it wanted to kind of have that original Ghostbusters style of more clever, not gut-busting humor, or if it wanted to have the power of pain compels you. It couldn't decide. It was back and forth, back and forth. And when they tried to do the original Ghostbusters style, it usually didn't work. The bad timing on a lot of the jokes, especially from Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, they were not good in this. Same with Leslie Jones. Just there's bad timing on those jokes and the editing where it was like, I'm not doing this, I'm doing it. Like, there wasn't even like a half-second pause for the, I don't know, just...
And I kind of noticed that too, that a lot of the jokes did seem like they were, like they could have just put a pause in there and it might have even been funny. I don't know, because it wasn't cleverly written, but he would have at least had a shot.
Yeah, I counted 4 or 5 times where a pause might have made something funny and there was no pause.
It was really weird. I can't think of another time I've actually thought that about a movie. Like, why? Like, I don't know. And again, it was a lot of that. The suit is black now.
Yeah, but I thought Kate McKinnon was kind of in that original Ghostbusters spirit. I thought her character is the only one that I really felt like was in this movie. Like, everyone else was just someone who showed up and read lines. And Chris Hemsworth, like, you know, to go back to what we said last week, the character was the joke. Like, I get it, he's dumb, but for some reason, I don't know, it made me laugh. I when he's like trying to get that phone out of there, I don't know. I thought he was very funny in this. Even though, again, the joke is the same thing. Yeah, he's stupid and looks good. I get it, but I did get it because I thought it was funny. But other than that, you know, no rules in this. This is another thing where it's like, it does that pan thing where it's constantly kind of telling you, like, we don't have to explain the rules because you already know them, but then we're going to not follow them. So do you have your own set of rules? Like, you know, they kind of lead you to believe that the proton packs work like the old proton packs. They don't shoot ghosts. They kind of trap them and hold them. But at the end, they're just like shooting ghosts and like killing them or I don't know. And then the main bad guy can just take control of people. The end was terrible. It was just awful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and not only was it awful, it was boring. Like, I at least could like watch the movie until that, and then at that point I was just like, this has got to end. Like, I just can't watch this anymore. I didn't. The second the credits came up, I left. After we're done here, I want you to tell me what the post credit scene was, just out of curiosity. But.
And then it had that like heartfelt scene, which doesn't fit in a Ghostbusters movie and totally didn't work anyway. But which is fine. But you got to tell me, do you want to be a Ghostbusters movie or do you want to do your own thing? Because you could never make up your mind and you could never tell me what you're doing. Say it again. Tell me what you want to do. I'll judge how well you did it. This movie didn't tell me what it wanted to do. It went. I mean, I think it told me it wanted to make a buck. It probably will. This movie got a lot of publicity. I went and saw this 5 o'clock, so it wasn't a full theater, but there was a good crowd in there. There was hardly any laughs other than for the power of pain compels you, or whatever that line is. Which wasn't funny in the trailer, right? No, it's not funny. But the other thing about this that I think that we didn't touch on last week with the original is it's a little bit like Dick Masterson's Right and Wrong Garbage Men Busting Ghosts. Like, they weren't garbage men, but you kind of got what he was saying. And in this movie, you know, in those movies, those guys were never portrayed as like being badass, right? They were always fumbling with the equipment. They were always screwing up. Like, they barely made anything happen. And this movie was like, oh, we're fumbling with the equipment, but now watch me strike this super awesome pose when I take down this ghost because I'm BA. And it was just doing that all the time. And it again, it doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie when you do that. So are you trying to bring Ghostbusters to your new generation, or are you trying to create your own thing? Again, you didn't tell me what you want to do because you didn't make a Ghostbusters movie. You tried a couple times, but then when you tried, you failed. And then when you didn't try, I was just saying, like, well, this isn't Ghostbusters.
You know, I would love to just like the only way I would probably rewatch this movie actually is to the director's commentary with Paul Feig. Like, I just want to know what he was thinking because he co-wrote it too, and this movie just doesn't work. It's this big, like, yeah, women are awesome movement, and this just wasn't the ship to carry that message. Because again, it doesn't try and be its own thing, but then it wants to complain when they want to complain and call names when people don't like that it's ripping off their one of their favorite franchises.
I mean, everyone hated Episode 7 because it had a strong female lead. Oh no, wait, everyone loved that movie.
That's right.
Rogue One, a lot of people seem to be pretty excited for that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know,
but we'll probably have to wait to Ocean's 11. Just it's ridiculous. This movie sucked. Like I can't imagine why they even really stuck up for it and ruined their credibility. Again, like I wanted this to be. I wanted to like this and say like, okay, yeah, it's its own thing. You got those movies. You got Ghostbusters 2, which is awesome. Ghostbusters, which is pretty good, and then you got this, but it's pretty good too. But that just wasn't the case. It couldn't make up its mind.
I wanted to be able to talk about it on its own, but it doesn't really make that possible. Like the movie forces you to compare it to the original over and over and over again.
Like let's go back and forth here. It has Slimer in it.
Yeah.
What else? No, you named something.
It's got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, even though he's a ghost balloon.
Same symbol.
I mean, lots of the same cast. I'll just roll that up into one.
Same kind of inventions, just taken to like a 2.0, like basically saying like we're better than Egon.
The way they find the ghost is it's not in a library, but it's almost the first ghost is almost identical scene. It's she gets barfed on as opposed to the let's get her, but it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any more. Do you? But that's still a pretty good list.
I mean, again, it just keeps referencing the other movies. It has a bunch of bad versions of the theme song, including one terrible one about halfway through.
Yeah, I had read an article that Fall Out Boy had done a version of it, and that it wasn't going over well, and I kept meaning to like look it up and listen to it. But then I heard it in the movie, and it was weird. It takes a weird turn. Like at the beginning, that's another thing. They have the Ray Parker Jr. version at the beginning. God, just so weird that they're trying to make this movie and make this big statement, and it just they just take so much from the original property. Just crazy to me.
I mean,
Crazy.
to me that's fine, but do it the way the original did it to some extent. I mean, again, I know, one of the bigger complaints about Star Wars 7 was that it was too like the first one, but, I think that's kind of what they were saying, like, we're making a Star Wars movie here. This one was like, we're making a Ghostbusters movie. Not really. Wait, yeah, we are. Yeah. No, we're not. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. It was all over the place. The tone of the comedy was all over the place. They couldn't decide if it wanted to be its own movie or not. I don't hate it as much as you. Again, I thought there were a couple funny performances. Maybe if you haven't seen the original, maybe you could get behind this better. I still don't think it's a good movie because I don't think it's particularly well written and didn't think it was very funny. But, maybe if you'd never seen the original, which is, top 10 movie of all time, then you could like this a little more. I don't know.
So, a couple of weeks ago, I thought about like how it used to feel like, once a quarter I was giving a movie an abortion. I hadn't given one in a while, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just become so callous to watching bad movies after all these years. And I guess that's the case. This isn't an abortion, but it is one pathetic movie out of 5.
It's 2 out of 5, but just barely. Just because of Chris Hemsworth, really. Like, I mean, I like Kate McKinnon too. I thought she was really good in this. Her performance felt honest. Everything else in this movie felt very forced. Felt like it didn't belong. I don't know. Obviously she wasn't just. All the characters are kind of playing their own, and I think we really missed a Peter Venkman type. One of the great things he does in those movies is he's kind of the liaison between the layperson and the science, and he's always the sane voice. And this movie didn't have one of those. Kristen Wiig wasn't that character. She was, a neurotic kind of Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, Leslie Jones was the closest to that you kind of got.
Yeah, she was the everyman, but she was, Ernie Hudson wasn't loud and smacking people in the face.
And I thought that was like really funny. Like, like they always talk about like the Star Wars universe, like, oh, Finn's black, so he must be related to Lando, or whatever. Like they always say, and then she's related to Ernie Hudson. I mean, it's not the same character, obviously, but I just thought it was kind of funny, and they took a shot at some ethnicity at the beginning, and I just thought, oh yeah, these are some. I mean, it just was the smuggest of douche of DJ levels. It just was a joke, and it was pathetic, and. Again, I get it. You're trying to sell a movie or whatever, but I feel like it was dishonest to go online and just trash all these people when, in the end of the day, they were right. I mean, it's 45% with audiences.
Okay,
and,
well, I don't think. To be fair, I don't think a lot of people who are downvoting it on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb even saw the movie. Like, there's a big contingent who's like, who did hate this movie for one reason or another, and then. Again, like we talked about, the outrage to the outrage to the outrage to the outrage forced everyone into these groups because we can't have nuance in this country or in this society. And they all, a lot of them went online and just voted it down without ever seeing it. So
top critics 57% too. So I guess the same for them probably. They didn't see it.
No, I think they saw that it wasn't a good movie. But 45%, 45% for an audience. Is that's ridiculously low. The worst movies get like 68% audience score. Like terrible movies get 60%. Being in the 40s is clearly someone stacking the deck. It's not that terrible, but whatever.
It's pretty terrible.
It's real.
I mean, like
it's not the one you wanted to hang your hat on. Again, like we said last week, it wasn't fair. This was not the movie to hang your hat on. Trying to remake Ghostbusters or reboot Ghostbusters or whatever the hell they were trying to do.
Yeah, and you know what? If it had been men and they had tried the same kind of stuff, the same style joke, and same kind of story, I don't think it would have worked either. So there you go.
No, it wouldn't have. This wouldn't have worked.
That ending is just so bland and stupid and lame. It just
no rules. Do whatever you want. If I can control you and not you, or take over this body and not take over that body, or balloon ghosts, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, and Bill Murray wasn't even good in it.
No, he wasn't. Like, he didn't look like he wanted to be there.
It's really weird. I don't know.
That character was just weird. Like, it didn't really seem necessary. It definitely didn't add anything to the movie. But they tried to set. It wasn't like that. Wasn't quite like a cameo role. Like, that character came up 2 or 3 times in the movie, like it was going to play a part, and it didn't. It wasn't like it wasn't Dan Aykroyd pulling up in the cab and saying, "I won't take you to Chinatown," type thing. Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
Not good, but not the worst thing. But if you're a fan of the original, I don't think anyone who really, really loves the original, like, I don't think you could like this movie. So I'm admitting I'm biased. If I don't like it because of that, I don't like it because I'm a man. Fine, I don't like it, so I can't make myself like it. Sorry.
All right, so I want to say something. I want to take another 5-second pause to give you time. Okay, so I asked Curtis to talk about something. And I want to give you a pause to make bets with your friends to if he will crap on it or if he won't. All right, here we go. The return of Curtis's classroom.
When you say crap on it, you mean crap on the segment or crap on the topic?
Crap on the segment.
Okay, all right.
As in, not take it seriously and present no information.
Okay, can we take a 10-second pause? No, I'm just kidding. So, Tony wanted me to talk about is, I guess, pretty big news on the heels of Pokemon Go, which I downloaded and found out you had to get around it. I know you told me that, but I didn't realize how much you had to do it. I told Gene we were going to play that game, and all right, I'm getting off topic. You'll get mad. But on the heels of Pokemon Go, which was a big success, Nintendo announced that they're also going to bring back a kind of a mini NES that you can connect to your TV, and it has 30 NES games on it, and that's it. There's no additional games. They said you won't be able to download more or anything like that. I believe I saw the cost would be $60. I saw a lot of people talking about this online. A lot of people excited for it. Saw it on Facebook. I saw a lot of people talking about it. So it looks like that's going to be maybe another big hit for Nintendo. $60 seems a little steep. I won't buy it. I already own almost all of these games, physical copies.
Yeah, they're great games though, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I own.
You've got
most of
95% of the games anyone would want to play on a NES anyways. Right?
You're missing a couple of the Mega Man games.
Sure. Okay.
You've got a couple bastardized versions. It's not Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It's Mr. Dream. Tecmo Bowl. It's not Tecmo Super Bowl, and even Tecmo Bowl. It's not going to have the real NFL rosters from that year. It's going to have just made up players. So you get a couple of versions that are not quite real, but you get Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Double Dragon 2, but not the original. Bubble Bobble's a great game. Again, these are great games. I know that because I own the Nintendo copies, but I also own digital copies of most of these on my 3DS because I like to play them on my 3DS. So this is a really impressive library. You get both Zeldas. You get all 3 Super Mario Brothers and the original Mario. You get Dr. Mario. Tetris isn't on there, but I think Nintendo lost the rights to that or something in that whole movie deal. So I don't know, but it is a really, really good lineup. Is it worth $60? I don't know. To me, it's not because I already own them all. But for someone else, I mean, would you pay $60 for this?
Yeah, I definitely went on Amazon and said, hey, send me an email as soon as I can purchase this. I would like to have it. I think the only flaw I see in it is I want a wireless controller.
I mean, maybe you can set something up. I know it doesn't take, it comes with a controller, but it looks like the original, but the plug is different. I know that. People have created wireless controllers for Nintendo. Okay. Someone will probably come out with it at some point. But I think when it comes out, it has one wired controller. You'd have to get a second one. But Nintendo's trying some new stuff. The Wii U was a huge disaster. They projected they would sell 100 million units, and they only sold 13 million. So they're coming out with it. They're already on their next system. Is coming out in March.
And that came out at E3 a couple of weeks ago, and you didn't really see anyone talking about it because they didn't give you a lot to hang your hat on. They were like, new system, Zelda, and that was it. Yeah.
Well, they've been talking about this new Zelda for 3 or 4 years. I mean, they showed that at E3 at least 3, maybe 4 years ago, and it keeps getting delayed. And Nintendo, they make some really stupid decisions. They caught lightning in a bottle with that Wii and then totally dropped the ball with the Wii U. There's still a huge number of people who think the Wii U is just it's basically just the same as a Wii. They even tried to roll out ads where kids would be like, wow, Wii U, it's not the Wii, it's different.
Now you can go to college on your Wii.
So they dropped the ball there. The 3DS has been a big hit, though. That a lot of people thought that wouldn't work out with cell phones and stuff becoming, but that's a good system. I have 2 of them. I got the new one when it came out because it plays Super Nintendo games. Hopefully they're going to start making some better decisions. Pokemon Go, hit. This is a good hit. So Nintendo's strength is their properties: Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong. That's their strength. It's not creating cutting edge consoles. I know they did it with the Wii, but again, that was more luck.
Yeah, and I still think they made a mistake there by not making it both what it was and a regular console as well. I think that just hindered them, and it kind of ruined a lot of the games for it.
I can't play Skyward Sword because it's just too much work.
But about Pokemon Go, since you brought that up, so I did download it to play it too, just to check it out. And I'm doing this step competition at work, so I'm out walking a lot anyways. So I was like, I'll try it out or whatever. And I don't know, it's kind of neat. Again, I like it. I was working this week and I saw lots of people out walking and playing it and talking, and at a park I saw them be like, hey, this guy's over there, and I don't know, it was building a sense of community, which is something I feel like we've lost. So I saw a lot of hate for it this week because obviously anytime you have anything good, there's going to be knuckleheads come along and ruin it. Sneaking behind police stations trying to catch, Pikachus and stuff like that. And I'm sure a lot of people are playing it while they're driving. It doesn't seem very safe to me. But again, and internal hate too. I guess we've reached that point and there's no going back, where it's like even the people that play it are hating on each other depending on which gym you join. And that's crazy to me. But
I saw you had to leave the house, and look, I run 4 times a week. I get outside, but same thing as Wii and Skyward Sword. The reason I can't play that is it's too much work. Like I don't want to work when I play a video game. So I downloaded it. There was one Pokemon in the house. We caught that one, and then it wanted me to go outside and walk 2 neighborhoods over. And I was like, screw that. So everyone was talking about it at work though. There's this one lady I feel kind of bad for. She has 2 boys who are 8 and 11 or something there, and her husband works in India, and these 2 kids just push her around she does whatever they say, so she's complaining she has to drive them all over town for Pokemon, and I'm like, well, just don't drive them around. And she's like, well, then they whine. I'm like, so?
Oh.
But
that's scary.
So it's causing some problem for parents, apparently. But
just one thing I want to mention to you in addition to Curtis is today I was in a hurry, and I was doing a lot of stuff, and I was cooking a steak for dinner, and I left it on too long, and it was well done, and I flashed back to our childhood. So I haven't had a steak that charred in 10 or so years. So
yeah, Mom came over for a cookout not long ago, and I made sure to burn the crap out of her burger. So
you're the best son ever, and that's why she wants to live with you.
Nope.
When she gets senile.
No, I already have a wife and 1 kid, and I mean, I guess at this point we've kind of now we're gonna have a second one. It looks, so. So
super excited.
So,
praying for a girl.
So I'm gonna have a full house as it is. It's just you. You got plenty of room. I know your apartment's not as big as the old one, but I'm sure there's an extra room for Mom there, and we'll be all full at our house when the new baby.
You got that huge basement you're redoing at the new house. I'm
redoing that for me. Not for
yeah, but it'll be real easy just to give Mom a corner.
No.
She's not super picky.
That basement is for me, so, and my family, of course, but mainly just for me.
All right, what do we got coming up next week?
I don't know, because you didn't update the schedule.
Yeah, I did. It's right. Star Trek Beyond. That's why we did Star Trek Into Darkness this week, and also a Curtis pick, The Invention of Lying.
All right.
We should have.
I checked
Scott
it. I checked it before the show, and it wasn't updated. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. We should have Scott and Andy here with us next week. That's up to Curtis for him to coordinate with Andy to make that happen, and he will do that because he contributes to this show.
That's right.
And you're going to edit this week?
I am going to edit this week. My house is sold, so I don't have to spend all weekend letting people come look at it. So,
and be like, oh, I'm gonna edit this Ghostbusters episode where you say there's no reviews on Monday, and I was gonna put it up while there were still no reviews, and then by the time it goes up, there's reviews out, and I get comments about it. So thanks a lot, Curtis.
It was a crazy week. We get our house under contract and all that stuff, but nobody cares about that. So,
gotta go. So.
Pay attention.